when they see the backlash from all the people who listen to this podcast switching from Chase Bank.
That's right.
Trust me, they're going to be begging for your business back.
You better believe it, man.
Rogan-esque. Where they're like, oh, shit.
It is.
This is Eva Habermann, and you're listening to The Usual Saints.
Welcome to a new episode of The Usual Commanders. I'm Mike D here with Sainte, Jeremy, and Vinnie. How you guys doing? Sainte's mic's off.
Topical.
Yeah, see, I thought I'd talk that out. I thought I'd do a name change just like some other people. Yes.
But, you said you were sick. What's wrong with you?
I have a sore throat, and when I have a sore throat, I'm the biggest baby there will ever be. So that's my weakness.
I can dig it.
Thought I had COVID, but the at-home test that Joe Biden gave me said no. I did one at CVS as well. I'm just waiting a few days on that result. So we'll see.
Hey, look, Sainte is eating, Jeremy. You got something to say about that?
Nope. He's not right at the mic when he does it.
I use the mute button, you know.
Is that what you do? Okay.
Mute button touches your mic. One of the
Fuck that. I want everybody to share the experience with me. So you can listen to me chew.
Oh, let's. What do you guys think about the new name of the Washington, formerly Redskins, the Washington football team, aka?
That's the name.
Go ahead, Vinny.
No, what's the new name? That's the name.
The Washington Commanders.
The Commanders. Wow. I don't like it, but who am I?
I mean, it's fine. I mean, we had some guy bought the rights to everything that was red, like red tails, red coats, red everything. I guess there was a local guy in Washington who bought all that stuff up, including, websites, Twitter handles, all that. Was expecting to get a big payday. And I think that's why it took so long for them to find something that they could, co-op and not have to pay too much money into. But now that whole organization, from the top down is pretty much a shit show. But I don't mind the name, actually. The name's fine. It's just a name. People get used to it,
It sounds like a USFL name.
That's actually a joke that started as soon as they announced it. Like with the new uniforms they have and everything, everyone was like, oh, look, it's the XFL team that's being brought up to replace the Jaguars.
Yeah. Commanders. It does sound like one of those, new league names.
Speaking of which, when does that new league start?
Which one?
I saw some commercials for it during the playoffs.
What are you talking about? What new league?
There's a new football league.
I have no idea. I've not heard of it.
Actually,
you have to elaborate.
USFL 2022.
Really?
Jeff Fisher was just named one of the head coaches.
Is Donald Trump involved again?
That's what I was going to ask.
I don't think so. I think this one's kind of actually supported by the NFL. Wow. NBC and Fox are both on to show the games.
NFL 2.0.
Yeah, there's going to be 8 teams.
I don't.
Trying.
When are they supposed to play? What time of the year are they going to play?
Let's see. I think they start in March.
No, I mean, it'll give football fans something to watch anyway.
There's 8 teams in these hotbeds of Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh.
They're the Birmingham Stallions. The Houston Gamblers. That's in Texas. New Orleans Breakers. Tampa Bay Bandits. So Tom Brady's going to be playing again. The Michigan Panthers. Are there even Panthers in Michigan?
It's too damn cold for Panthers.
New Jersey Generals, which that's what they should have gone with, was Washington Generals. But Philadelphia Stars. And
the Jersey Generals was a team in the USFL.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same,
It's pretty much the same teams. Because I know the Bandits too. The Bandits and who else? Houston Gamblers.
I really wish the Redskins had gone with the Generals, the Washington Generals. Isn't that the team that loses to the Globetrotters every day?
The Senator. I think it's the Senators.
No. The Senators. That's a hockey. No, I'm pretty sure. No, the Senators used to be a baseball team in
way
DC.
back when. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think the Generals are the team that plays the Globetrotters. Again, I don't know. This idea that people are so insatiable for football that they want football year round. I mean, the XFL tried it, but then again, you have the WWE and Vince McMahon and that whole, it's kind of like trying to piggyback off being showy like the WWE, but I don't know if people really want year-round football. I think arena football sort of kind of worked, but then it failed also in like niche markets. But again, you could play it indoors and it was a different wrinkle to it, but just regular football year round. I think people just want to watch top quality high school, college, NFL, and that gives people the football thing. I also think because of the scarcity, unlike, basketball, baseball, hockey, that those, hockey and basketball have 82 games and then baseball like 162. I think the scarcity of the NFL is the reason why people enjoy it, because every game feels like it matters when you only have, well, now 17 games in the playoffs. But it's like, are people really clamoring for, let's get more football that's a little bit subpar after we've watched the Super Bowl? I'd like to see the numbers and see if, there's really any traction for this or any support for this.
I think it might be for the first year. People are curious and people are going to watch. They might see numbers from that just out of curiosity's sake, but I don't think it'll last.
It doesn't start till April 16th. Is the first game. That's when it's scheduled to start. And there's only 38 people on a roster with a 7-man practice squad. So the NFL plays with 55 players on a roster, I think, for actual games.
52.
53. 53.
Oh, it's 53. Yeah, 53. Yeah.
And I know at times they struggle to not have any depth at positions. So with only 38 people, I mean, that's only 16 people not on the field, starters.
How many games are they going to?
One of those is a kicker / punter. You do not have any depth in your team at all. That's crazy.
How many games are they going to play?
I didn't.
Done say.
The Wikipedia article's shit.
Oh, okay.
I just know it's there.
I mean, there's only 5 people on the side at a time.
Is that what it's saying?
I'm just kidding. I don't know.
I mean, maybe it's 7-on-7, I mean, like they do during training. Maybe it's 7 aside and screw the.
That's also kind of, you basically just make up anything. It's like, no, the quarterback, he has to hike it to himself in this league. Yeah. Like, really? Like, no, I'm just making shit up. I don't know.
Right. If he hands it off, he has to do 10 push-ups.
Right. But, again, I know people, if you're talking about high quality with teams that they know, college, NFL, people are insatiable for it. But then particularly after the Super Bowl, there's, again, that down period. I think sometimes scarcity is what creates, the demand sometimes. And I just like to see that first season of XFL, it was just basically trying to, your people were watching to see the train wreck. And they had all this news. I remember the first game. What was it? The very first game, there was no kickoffs. In order to get the ball, it was 2 guys had to run a 40-yard dash and dive for a loose football that was placed in the middle of the field. And the first time they did it, the guy ended up breaking his collarbone. The 2 guys ran, they smashed into each other. One got the ball, and then the other guy broke his collarbone. So they had to change that because they were like, this is just going to cause a lot of injuries. So again, we've had arena football, we've had other football leagues. I just don't know if there's that much of an appetite for year-round football, because by the time you're in April, you're talking about off-season OTAs and college training camps and stuff. It's, are people going to sign up for a 4th team, a 3rd or 4th team? I don't know.
Not me.
10 weeks. It's a 10-week season with 2 rounds of playoffs.
10-week season with 2 rounds of playoffs.
Yep. That's 3 months.
Yeah. All the games are going to be played in Birmingham the first year.
Wow.
Okay.
Interesting.
I guess if you're just bored and need something to watch on TV,
I guess. Yeah.
If it's not marketed as, NFL, it's not competing obviously directly with the NFL. They, chose a different season. But if it's almost marketed as a second chance opportunity for guys, that might have had issues in college or injuries or, couldn't make it to college because their grades were, shit or whatever, that might have some appeal just to see that, hey, that second chance story can be part of it as well. If they go that angle at times, I think that might get some people in to watch. Everybody likes a good underdog story, the kid that, couldn't go to college because of this, or hell, even the guy that went to jail for a couple of years and is now trying to be a star player again. Stories like that might be able to draw some attention and get people involved and almost use it as like because the USFL back in the 80s, I mean, they had some Warren Moon, I think, played there. They had some players go play.
Yeah, Herschel Walker played.
Did Elway go there as well?
I think it was Steve Young, right?
Yeah, Steve Young.
Names that went that route. So
yeah,
if they kind of market it that way, it might have a little bit of appeal. I don't think it's going to get NFL numbers. Might not even
it'll never get NFL numbers.
Right. I was just even saying just anywhere close to being respectable, which I guess again, people like you were saying, Vinny might show up for the first season just to see what it is.
Yeah, out of curiosity.
But I feel like they're probably going to need some gimmicks, maybe no punts, maybe all 2-point conversions, maybe stuff to, make it livelier and stuff instead of if it's just a straight NFL rules. Go ahead.
But then it's just a gimmick.
In the cheerleaders locker room. Cameras in the cheerleaders locker rooms again. Come on.
You sound like a Washington Commander. Sound like you can get a job with Dan Snyder and his Commanders, seeing how he runs that organization.
Commanders. What a shitty name.
I'm down with the cameras in the cheerleaders' locker room as long as it's consensual.
You know what? You'll never see that again. You will never see that again, man.
The latest story out of Dan Snyder was, I guess there was a woman there she was a former cheerleader and part of their marketing. I think she works for ESPN now. And she says that, coming out with all the depositions, all the stuff that's coming out, that when she would, her and other cheerleaders would take calendar shoots, Dan Snyder would have someone rush to the photographer, and before they edit it, because I guess they Photoshop it a little bit to make sure there's no nip or, any, anything that would be too risque in the genital regions. So, they Photoshop it a little bit, and supposedly he would send somebody to the photographer to get the raw photos. So that way he could see everything before it got Photoshopped out. That's the kind of organization the new Commanders are running. So that tells you everything you need to know. There goes my hero.
Watch him as he goes. Bad sexual harassment joke or whatever you want to call it.
Or a good one if you feeling yourself. But.
Yeah, I threw it in there. Jeremy, are you crying about Tom Brady retiring?
Nah, it's gonna happen.
It's gonna happen. I thought he'd go till 50.
I don't know that I cried, but I was pretty emotional. It's sad because, he's been there 18 years and now we're going to have to start over. And that last game at Heinz Field, I don't know if we talked about it on here, but it was emotional to watch that, him walking around the field and everything like that. And the thing that sucks, and it's something someone brought up in an article I read, with Brady retiring and Roethlisberger in the same year. And I haven't heard anything about Gronkowski yet. And there's a few other people that might retire, and you only get 5 people in one Hall of Fame class. So in 5 years, when all these guys are going to be eligible, whoever's going to be retiring, does that mean Ben's at the bottom? I mean, Brady's obviously not going to be at the bottom. So I'm hoping a bunch of more guys don't retire so he can get in on first ballot. Otherwise, it'd be a few years waiting on that. So we'll see.
I didn't think about that. I didn't know they had a number limit for the Hall of Fame for football.
Yeah, I think it's 5 a year is what I read.
You're right, five per class, which is kind of funny if you think that Brady's so maniacal. He's like, you know what? Fuck that. I'm going to come in so that way that retirement is going to be all about me, and Ben gets nothing that year. I mean, really, if you had a retirement class with Roethlisberger and Brady, I mean, yeah, Ben would still get his accolades, but it's going to be all about Brady. It doesn't matter who he's in with that class. Definitely. It's going to be all about, and he's going to make the first year. So Ben, I don't know what Ben's going to use. Ben could be like, can you put mine off another year?
Yeah, that's what I'd be saying.
But can you think of 4 players that you would pick over Ben, though, that you think might retire this year? I mean, good thing Breeze went last year.
I don't think so.
No. I mean, Breeze is going to get in on his first ballot, and so's Ben, and so's Brady and Gronk. But I'm just saying, Gronk. We all know Gronk's not going to give a shit. He'll show up half drunk or whatever. Be like, I don't care who I'm going with. Right. He'll probably jump up there during Brady's speech and hand him a beer or something. But
he might have a shirt on.
Ben probably would, like you said. Usually, in some classes, they only put in 2 or 3 people. So usually, you want it just to be all about. I remember the year Marino went in. He only went in with one other person. I forget who he went in with, but it made it so that way. It was just about those 2 guys. But if you have both Brady and Roethlisberger, I mean, Roethlisberger's going to get drowned out. I mean, he's going to get his accolades, but yeah, it's going to be nothing when it's going to be the Brady show.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens. I don't know. It's a few years away, obviously, and we'll see if anyone else big retires this year. That the only reason everyone's saying Gronk is, because obviously he came out of retirement to go play with Brady again. So.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. Who's the backup plan? Who's the backup quarterback in Tampa Bay? Or do they have to go get someone?
He used to be the what's his name? Kyle. What's the last name? He was the starting quarterback for the University of Florida. That's how I know him. Kyle Trask.
I think the punter. The punter is going to be the quarterback.
Trask is there, I think.
Kyle Trask. That's it. He was the. He played for the Gators. He was actually pretty good. The tight end Kyle Pitts, who plays for Atlanta, they used to call it the Kyle because I think they broke the record in college football for quarterback to tight end, even though he lined up as a receiver half the downs. But the University of Florida guy is going to be the future in Tampa Bay if everyone doesn't, dip out and leave it. It's just I said this a while back after Seattle won and they were trying to win back to back. I think it's just too hard to win back to back in the NFL now. Even if you can make it back to the Super Bowl, I think when you make it to that second Super Bowl, you're so beat up. You've played so many games, and winning a Super Bowl, no matter how much people want to talk about, this and that, there's a little bit of luck sprinkled in there for every Super Bowl winner. I mean, to go through the playoffs and win, you just have to get a little bit lucky. I mean, to me, the Bengals hitting Kansas City where Mahomes hits a brain fart in the second half of that game, you just have to get a little bit lucky. And to do that 2 years in a row, I don't think it's ever going to be done again. I don't think we're going to see another back-to-back Super Bowl winner for a long, long time.
Wait, are you telling me that luck is involved, like such as when they flip the coin that we've been talking about the past few shows?
Yeah, that too. That too. I mean, it's all part of it, so. Luckily, Cincinnati played defense, and I can't hear.
Only quarterback under contract is Trask, and I did not realize they treated this as a redshirt year for him. He was inactive for every game of this year. The only reps he got were with the scout team, so they just had his ass sitting doing nothing for a year, more or less. They worked on some of his mechanics. They said all year, but he's the only.
So wait, if Brady had gotten hurt in game, in one of the
Trask was not the backup.
Huh.
They do have Byron Leftwich.
The one article I did see was that the Bucks, the Steelers, and the Commanders are the three front runners right now for the Jimmy G show because they think he's out at San Francisco for some reason.
Nah, man, do not spend that money to get Garoppolo. Go and get someone. Go and get someone in the draft. Do whatever you can for the year. Hopefully, finish 8-8, maybe better if possible. That's for the Steelers, like any other thing.
Like winning the COVID lottery. Yay! We're in contention for the Jimmy G service. Yay! What the fuck? I'd be like, go ahead, Commanders. All yours. We'll see what this Kyle Trask thing. We'll just play it out, or we'll just be bad and get a good. Hey, worked for Cincinnati. Be bad long enough till you finally get that quarterback, and now you're in the Super Bowl 2 years later. And he got hurt his first year. So he didn't even have a full first rookie season. And in year 2, we're in the Super Bowl. So if that don't tell you what you need to do, but don't do it the Dolphins way. I mean, we could talk about that, but
oh, shit.
I know we got to lead into that. I mean, this A block will be the sports block to get it over because, listen, that's a big story. Those texts from Belichick to Brian Flores are funny. I read those and I was like, I felt so awkward.
We should all just talk about, have you ever texted somebody or mistakenly text the wrong person? I've done that a few times where I meant to text the wife and I'm texting, one of my buddies. Hey, going to pick up the such and such. Love you.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see you. It's like, I love you too, pal.
Definitely. Yeah. I've sent bad texts to my mom about knowing it. Yeah. I'm coming to get fucked up. And I'm texting some dude that I'm meeting at a bar, and it's like, "Are you okay?" Wait, what? Sorry, Mom. But yeah, all the time. You'd be texting somebody, and then somebody else will text you, and you're still on the text with the other person. I do that all the time.
It's happened to me. Nothing too crazy. I remember I texted my friend Troy one time something, and I was like, I don't know why I sent that to you, but sorry about that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it happens. But yeah, I mean, even Jeremy, I don't know. Did you text anyone? Sorry, I didn't mean to leave you out.
Yeah, nothing that I can think of. I had somebody do that to me. I was someone invited me, at work invited me out to trivia, I think, and then like 2 seconds later, I get another text. Hey, I invited Jeremy. Is that cool with you? I'm like, hey man, no worries. I'm good if you don't want me to go. No. I meant to send that to someone else. Yeah. I'm good. Don't worry about it.
That's funny. But I mean, what do you guys think about that whole situation? I mean, do you think there's validity to it? I mean, I know there is evidence of it, obviously. And I read an article just yesterday about how, Jim Caldwell hasn't been given another chance at another head coaching job. But if you look at the miracles he pulled off with fixing, he's the quarterback guru or quarterback whisperer or whatever they call him. He basically fixed Peyton Manning's game. He fixed Joe Flacco's game at the Ravens, and he fixed Stafford's game up in the Lions. And now Stafford's in the Super Bowl. So it's that's one black coach who just hasn't been given another head coaching job after getting shafted out of the Colts head coaching job. And then you have Byron Leftwich, who basically was offered the job in Jacksonville and then found out there were more interviewees coming afterwards. And now they hired Doug Peterson from the Eagles. And now you got Brian Flores filing a class action lawsuit saying that, obviously he got fired for whatever reason down at the Dolphins. And then Stephen Ross is allegedly offering him $100,000 a game to lose. I know Sainte sent the article, so I'm sure he has some stuff to say about it, but.
Yeah. Okay. So as the resident Dolphin fan, not fan, hurting fan, and as, the resident black here, I guess cross-sectionality here.
The resident
black. Token black, like from South Park, not Star Wars.
Right. Fucking Star Wars.
Call me Lando, motherfucker.
That's right. Lando, motherfucker.
So, this is quite an interesting topic because not only do I feel like it dwells into a lot of things I feel like, but it also gets in the heart of, labor disputes and how you feel about disgruntled employees and all kinds of things. So first, just on the football aspect of it, it's, again, you can go through the numbers. The NFL is a league with 70% of black players, but yet the coaching hires and, how we deal with general managers. I mean, I guess they're doing a little bit better on the front office things, but I would point to Chris Greer is the general manager of the Dolphins, who's African-American. From my opinion, the franchise has been a complete shit show, but yet he continues to keep his job. We literally have had first-round draft picks who are not playing in the league anymore, and yet he's been there for going on now 17 years and almost 4 coaches. It's strange to me that, yes, he said, well, here's a minority candidate, but yet if you look at his job performance, we're replacing coaches after coaches. We have first-round draft picks who are no longer in the league anymore, meaning it was a complete waste, but yet that man keeps his job. And yet Brian Flores is the first Dolphin coach to have back-to-back winning seasons since 2002 or 3, and he gets fired. Now, we can go through the whole thing of people, if you're an NFL owner or whatever, you have the right to hire and fire whoever you want for basically whatever reason. We can look at it like that. But you assume that most of this hiring and firing should be based upon performance. When you look at people who get fired and why they get fired, it seems to me, and people can debate this, but it seems when it's an African-American coach, you're on a much shorter leash. The only coach that we've seen to be given, I think, as much support from his org is Mike Tomlin. And I don't think it's a coincidence that the organization that felt they needed to get the other owners to enact the Rooney Rule in order to get more minority candidates, just to get an interview in the hiring process, is also an organization with a black head coach, which I'll remind you that the Dolphins thought was too hip hop to be a head coach. And yet he's never had a losing season, 2 Super Bowls, a Super Bowl win. So it tells you, again, what the Dolphins are dealing with, that organization has has a black coach. They hired him when he was young. How old was he when he got hired? Was he 37?
34, 35. He was in the mid 30s.
Right. In his mid 30s, which again, very young. You don't see a lot of young African-American coaches even getting interviewed, but the Steelers stepped up, were like, hey, again, in a league where the majority of your labor force happens to look a certain way. And again, this gets into touchy issues about, race and all of that. But in a league, if you think that you have a league and not only with coordinator position coaches coming up the ranks, when you take all this to account and you see at one point, Mike Tomlin, who after Bill Belichick is the longest tenured coach, was the only black head coach in the league. It just doesn't add up. You have all these black coordinators. You have what's his name in Kansas City, an offensive coordinator.
Eric Bieniemy.
Eric Bieniemy. Where if you look at the two coordinators before him who worked in Kansas City, both of them, and people try to make the argument that, he doesn't call the plays, but nobody calls the plays on an Andy Reid team. He always calls the plays. But his last two offensive coordinators before him both got head coaching opportunities, and Bieniemy hasn't, even though under Bieniemy, they actually won the Super Bowl and went back to a Super Bowl. And you can say, well, maybe isn't he supposed to get some credit for what happened with Mahomes? It's just when you take all these things into consideration, things don't add up. And again, I think everyone would say you wish there was no need for a Rooney Rule. You wish that, hey, it's all a meritocracy. Everyone just gets hired based on, merit, and we don't take these into considerations. But I think the most damning thing when you take everything into account, for me at least, is A, the opportunities, and B, the short leash the African-American candidates seem to have. Again, should an owner be able to hire anyone they want to hire and who they feel comfortable with? Fine. But when the people you seem to be comfortable with and the people who seem to get opportunities after opportunities after opportunities seem to all look a certain way. And if this was me or people from the outside mentioning this, I would take a step back and be like, hey, maybe we know the dynamics. But if you have multiple African-American coaches saying this is an issue, I mean, these are the guys who work in the NFL. They know the behind the scenes stuff. And if time and time again, they're saying this is a problem, like I'm being brought in for sham interviews, or they're not taking me seriously, or there's nothing I can do, and I'm getting leapfrogged by guys who don't have as good a resume as I do, then obviously this is a problem. And you have to look at it like, for some reason, these owners, even if they give an African-American a shot, that leash is so short. Like you said, Jim Caldwell has success even in Detroit. Like what else does he have to do in order to keep, to get an opportunity? Brian Flores, first back-to-back winning seasons in Miami since before Stephen Ross owned the team, and yet he's fired. There's just an issue with it. And again, I don't know if you can litigate it. I don't know if you can make a Rooney Rule to solve it, but obviously this is an issue, and we'll see what the league does. I mean, I'm sure this is not what Goodell wants to be talking about the weeks before the Super Bowl, but it's just when you have enough evidence, the writing's on the wall that something needs to change. I don't know if it's going to change because again, you can't tell a billionaire what to do with their money, but I mean, that's basically where I'm coming from it. Not to mention, I think I will end cap with this. The Dolphins, starting with Stephen Ross, is a garbage run organization. It's just mediocrity after mediocrity. Sometimes they can't even do that right. So I'll end cap with how I feel about the Dolphins. But yeah, that's how I look at the entirety of the situation.
All right. So the Dolphins, I don't know what their issue is. I mean, you got a guy who ends the season with 8 or 9 straight wins, whatever it was, and you fire him. Makes absolutely no sense, no matter what color the coach is. Like you said, the general manager's been there for 17 years and the team has sucked. So is it him? Is it the owner? Who the hell is making these decisions? Obviously, he's not making very good ones. The thing with Belichick's texts and him interviewing with New York, and sounds like they had already made their decision before he even interviewed, which is, the Rooney Rule says you have to interview. It doesn't say you have to actually consider them. I don't know how you get around that. They apparently had already made up their mind and wasted his time bringing him in for an interview. Jacksonville, I thought Leftwich had the job. I'm surprised when they went a different direction. Doesn't make a lot of sense. Like you said, there's a ton of coordinators out there that, I don't know why you just keep recycling the same head coaches that got fired somewhere else. Doesn't make sense after, a couple of chances. Why aren't you giving somebody new a shot? And I think the head coaches take a lot of heat. To me, the general managers are probably where a lot more of these issues with teams come from. Coach at this level, the coach isn't teaching fundamentals. The coach is implementing a game plan with the players the general manager gives them. So I think coaches take the heat for a lot of those issues. But yeah, it makes no sense. A guy who was successful in Miami with the way Miami is run and a quarterback who can't stay healthy somehow can't get a job from an organization that did a quarterback sneak on 3rd and 9. I mean, what the fuck? That's my opinion.
3rd and 9. That's not too far. That's 27 feet. Is that right?
Yeah, 27 feet. Attaboy, Mike. Attaboy. Bring math into it.
Vinny, you got any thoughts on this topic?
Right. Nah, you guys have covered it. I ain't got nothing to say.
I mean,
it's been happening. It's been happening for a long time in the NFL, and just because they came up with the Rooney Rule doesn't mean anything is going to change. Just like Jeremy said, it says you have to interview different ethnicities to for a job, but you don't have to hire them. So so they're following the rule, but there's loopholes to it that I'm sure they all take advantage of. Obviously. So that's the way it is. It sucks, and everybody deserves a chance. It doesn't matter what you look like. If you have the skills, you should be put in the slot. So that's my opinion.
All right, we've had a really long A block. Let's have 2 more short blocks. We'll come back with a B block with whatever we can think to talk about. I'm going to rely on Jeremy for B block.
B.
You've been it's not. I'm going to rely on Jeremy for B-Block.
I was just picking. I want to see his reaction. You've been listening to The Usual Saints. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Fred Boy. Listen to The Usual Saints on your favorite way of getting a podcast.
Sweet.
No, it's like The Price is Right.
Yeah.
Come on down.
Mike's like, we're going to rely on, wait, Jeremy.
Jeremy, come on down. Give it the next one.
Although, I mean, I don't know if you guys want to talk about the whole Rogan Spotify thing. I have thoughts on that too. But I don't want to I'm not trying to be political with it, but I find it actually on a business level. That's where I kind of wanted to take that conversation if you guys want to talk about it. But
that's cool.
But again, this is Jeremy's B block, so I don't want to step on any toes. Go ahead.
Jeremy loves Joe Rogan.
I'm curious to see how some other things are getting handled. I mean, I assume Rogan's on the way to, I guess it's his podcast. He really can't be fired, but Spotify could take him off the air.
Can I bring us back?
Yeah,
Welcome back to The Usual Saints.
Whoopi Goldberg.
Rejoin.
Mike D.
Jeremy wants his rejoin. Go ahead.
You lit a spark under Jeremy's ass right there.
Go ahead.
You got that whole story, which is interesting. You got Susan Sarandon, equating cop's funeral to a fascist rally or whatever, which, I'd like to see how that's handled. You got Whoopi Goldberg getting suspended for 2 weeks for saying the Holocaust wasn't about racial issues.
Right.
Interesting to me to see how all those kind of play out and which ones the media decides to, kind of say, okay, yeah, they said sorry, we're all good. I guess Joe Rogan just had made another apology, I guess, for an old video, which has been talked about before, where he apparently used the N-word.
Oh, it's
had to apologize for that as well.
Oh yeah,
it's like a little montage clip of.
He said a few things, over
the years, which I don't mean to cut. No, go ahead, Jim. I don't mean to cut him. I was gonna say so I'll try to tackle along. Susan Sarandon thing, she seems to says a lot of dumb things at dumb times, like without actually thinking about it. It's like, I'm not really a fan. Like every time she says something, it just sounds like someone who's just, it's like, is your head so stuck up your ass? Like you have no, do you sit down for a second and think about what you're saying? So Susan's random thing, I'm just like, okay, nutty lady saying more nutty things. Yeah. And all 3 of these people have apologized, which is kind of funny too. But Sarandon is the one that doesn't have any, I guess, corporate tie-ins to it. The Whoopi Goldberg thing, which was actually strange to me because I still want someone to explain exactly what Whoopi said that was so wrong. On one hand, Well, actually, I do. She basically downplayed who was killed in the Holocaust. Basically, breaking it down to just one group of whites versus another group of whites, which it was much more deeper and complicated than that. But my thing was the whole thing about seeing Jews as a race of people, which in my mind is like, isn't that a Nazi talking point? If I've always come to believe Judaism as a religion where any, race or ethnicity could be classified as a Jew. But in this sense of the word, like, I think, aren't we now using the Nazis way of viewing things, like the Jewish are a race of people who you can dissect into like, these people are Jews, not based on whether they believe in their religion, but based on birth, which I thought was kind of strange. And again, I'll admit that I guess I didn't see, I basically was just reading, stuff from articles. So I didn't actually see what she said, but maybe she said it in artfully, I should say. But the idea that we now classify Jews as a race of people as opposed to a religion, I found kind of strange. Because I've always felt like, if you're a Jew, if you believe, in Judaism, it's just a group of people. And then last with the Joe Rogan thing, again, like, I'm actually one of those people who, if you're using it in the proper context, I don't believe there's words you can't use, such as the N-word, saying nigger, or the F-word like faggot or anything like that, if you're using it in the proper context. Now, of course, if you're using it as an insult or a slur, then of course that's wrong. Or if you're just brandishing it about and not using any context with the word, just, letting it fly, even though you'd be like, oh, I'm not trying to use it in the derogatory way, but you're not using it in any context to explain anything. That's also wrong, because some people, do find that word offensive. But if you're using it in the context to explain something, or in the context of, hey, this is what the word was said, or if you're trying to make a point in a joke that actually has a point, and not just like my example would be when Kramer, what's his name? Michael Richards was on
Michael
stage,
Richards, yeah,
and just got pissed off at somebody, and try to play it off like, oh, I wasn't, I was trying to be provocative, but really it was because he was pissed off.
Provocative.
So actually, Rogan saying that isn't really what I mean. Rogan's had some other things on there, where he said he walked into a black movie theater and it was Planet of the Apes. Where he was talking to a mixed guy, and the guy, oh, you got the best of both worlds. You got a black body and the white mind. And then I think a few seconds it clicked what he said. He's like, whoa, I'm not trying to say that, the mind of a black person, but it was like the first thing out of his mouth. And I mean, I saw that clip before, and I thought those two are much more, I guess you'd say problematic than, that clip of him just using the N-word all the time. And then there's the whole thing about whether Spotify should, this goes into the corporate use of, when Joe Rogan took the $100 million or whatever to get to Spotify, it's like, yeah, man, they're going to ask for concessions because when they're getting heat. And I mean, I want to get into that a little later, actually, the business part of it, but I'll let Mike and Vinnie give their opinions.
Yeah, I didn't hear about the Susan Sarandon thing. So whatever.
Yeah,
She does say some nutty stuff, but, she's always been like that, not to excuse it, just whatever.
Sometimes when something is said, you got to consider the source, So
yeah. The Whoopi Goldberg thing, I was thinking the same way with Sainte. Like, I get it. I get why someone might think that. I was like, it wasn't really a race of people. I don't consider like the Jewish race, but then I thought about it more. I'm like, well, I've heard that term before. Jewish race. Was that from like the Indiana Jones movie? Or was it somewhere where like a bunch of Nazis were referring to people as a Jewish race? Or is it like where they come from, their homeland, whether it's Israel or that whole area or whatnot. And so that was weird to get that. But again, I don't really care. I mean, I don't watch The View, so I'm not going to see her for 2 weeks because I'm not going to see her anyway.
Yeah.
Regarding Joe Rogan, I mean, I do have more thoughts on that. And we're going to get into the business aspect. I saw an article yesterday that said 19.6% of Spotify users are planning on they already either have canceled their subscription or are planning on canceling their subscription. So it is affecting Spotify's bottom line. But I guess before we go there, Vinny, I guess he didn't say anything. I lost track. Sorry.
Sorry. The Susan Sarandon thing, I couldn't care less about that because I don't pay attention to what she says anyway. But that's why I said, I consider the source. I mean, some of these people are just idiots, say shit all the time. So you're like, whatever. The Joe Rogan thing. I mean, the bottom line, you're talking about the bottom line for Spotify. I mean, that's definitely going to come into play with them. I mean, they're going to do something about it. Whether it's get rid of him or whatnot. The Whoopi Goldberg thing, I was reading a lot of comments today, people coming to her defense and, they're pissed off at ABC because they, just suspended her for 2 weeks and they fired Roseanne for shit she said. And a couple other people that they feel should have been released because of comments that they made pertaining to a race or any other type of ethnicity or religion. As far as I'm concerned, I don't watch The View. If I want to get my day started by getting pissed off, I will watch The View because immediately I'm pissed off because, to me, that's just a bunch of women getting together, complaining about shit that they have no way of doing anything about. I mean, if you're going to complain about shit that much and say things need to be changed that much in this country, regardless of politicians or religious leaders or whatnot, throw your hat in the ring, man. Get involved and fucking, get elected, get in the race, to get into a position where you can do something about it instead of sitting back and talking about it. I mean, we talk about shit, but, not to the extent that, okay, I'm going to become a senator or whatever, or state representative because, I feel this way about a certain thing. And I'm not vested that much into those things. I have an opinion, but that's about it. But they're on a platform where they talk to millions of people every day and they spout, and when they have guests on, if they don't like what the guest is saying, I mean, they literally go after them. I mean, they're very venomous with their comments to people that they don't agree with, which I think is a bad setting a bad example for, everybody. Young people that watch it, young women that watch it or whatever, they think that's the way that you're supposed to handle things, by defaming somebody or, bringing up things from their past that, they don't want to talk about or whatever, but, just basically going after them, to make them look bad on TV. But like I said, if you're that vested in it and you want to make a difference, instead of just talking about it, get involved, throw your hat in the ring and, get into a position where you can actually do something instead of just sitting there and bitching about it the whole time, So that's my opinion on those things.
Jeremy, you have anything else to add? I wanted to get into that before. I kind of wanted to touch on the actual business part of it, as opposed to just the, how we felt about what was said.
Excuse me. I don't listen to Joe Rogan's podcast. I know it's popular. I know I have some coworkers that listen to it. So I was just looking to see what exactly it was. I mean, obviously this new video is a little different, and looking for what he said. I guess they pulled some of his old episodes now off of Spotify. I don't know if it's to try to keep people from pulling clips from them or what the reasoning is, because they haven't pulled everything, just certain episodes. But I guess it started. Does anyone know what he was saying about the vaccines and whatnot that caused Neil Young and a couple other people to start pulling their stuff? Because that was all before this video came out.
Right. Okay, I'll try to do this as quick as possible to fast forward, because I have thought about this a lot. Well, mostly because, we're in the, actually, that might be Hill stretching and saying that we're in the podcast game. We have a podcast. So I think about podcasting. We're not really in the game, so to speak. But so real quick, on the business side, and it ties into Joe Rogan. So when podcast begins, even the word podcast derives from the iPod, which, is an Apple thing. And when podcast became our podcast, most podcasts, it's used what's called an API. It's basically an Apple directory where podcasts are listed. So that way, if you have any kind of app or whatever, you can find a podcast. And for years, people were wondering if Apple was going to make a big play into podcasting. I don't know what app you guys use to list your podcast, but for a long time, Apple's podcast app was terrible. And they were just happy to have this directory that listed podcasts. Everyone says, find us on Apple Podcasts, whatever. And all it was a directory. Apple didn't have any kind of control or didn't really get into anywhere to monetize it for themselves. And if you think about that, and the reason I'm bringing this up and how it deals with Spotify and Joe Rogan is it's kind of weird how Apple had this big ecosystem where if they wanted to, they could have made money off of, but they didn't. But going into it further, the reason is because podcasts are the wild, wild west. Is the reason I have a podcast with 4 guys who don't wear pants, and we can basically go in here and say anything we want, or Joe Rogan can say whatever he wants. And Apple is really about control. And they never really wanted to get into business with something where someone might say something kooky, conspiratorial, racist, anti-Semitic. They just didn't want to get in that business. Take that. All right. That's number one. Then you have Spotify, which was a music streaming company, but they were looking to how can we have growth? And for them, with digital audio, instead of thinking of music, thinking of digital audio, they saw the biggest growth potential was podcasts. And they're right. They made a bet that we can be the number one space for people for podcasts, right? We can get advertisers, get, people paying us a subscription every month. And for them, they wanted to be, when you think podcast, you go to Spotify first. And their bet was if we get the biggest name in podcasting, which at the time happened to be Joe Rogan, if we get him exclusive on our platform, we can build our podcast empire. But as everyone can see, there are pitfalls to that, especially when you have a guy like Rogan. Now, the latest controversy with Rogan, and it's funny as a controversy, he brought on a doctor who was saying all kinds of things about COVID, about what's the name of this medicine?
Ivermectin.
Ivermectin. How ivermectin basically can be a cure-all. The vaccine isn't working. Mixing a lot of pseudoscience with half-truths, with some stuff that people have just straight up said that's not accurate at all. And that's what's caused this latest big controversy. Now, I'm sure the 4 of us, I'm assuming the 4 of us are all free speech advocates. I don't want to restrict anyone's speech, even if that speech.
All right. And we're done with the usual saints. Thanks for talking.
Just a beep. Wow. Saint wasn't in this episode. What happened?
Right. Yeah. What happened to Token? But, people, and I feel like instead of saying that we have cancel culture or we have a woke culture, I really feel like what we have nowadays is an outrage culture on both sides, whether it's left, right, center, whatever. People get outraged about everything and feel like everything is up on the level where I need to write somebody or I need to do this. And I'm not talking about a Chad incident where
I feel personally offended right there.
where you get bad service and then you go there. But people, someone says something, Whoopi Goldberg says something, and then it's like, you should fire her, you should suspend her, this and that. To me, it's like, hey, let people talk. And if it rises to a level, you can make a decision then. But really it comes down to corporations, for, lack of a better term, are just punks and pussies about this stuff. It's like, they're so risk averse. It's like somebody who we employ or someone we give money to says something, and instead of sitting down and actually having a real conversation or, letting that person explain themselves and let it play out, they're so quick to be like, oh, we have to suspend Whoopi Goldberg, or we have to take down the episodes where Joe Rogan says something or this and that. And to me, it all comes down to just corporate. It's the easy way out for them. And it's because they just don't want the bad publicity. Spotify is like, we're building our podcast brand and we don't want to do anything that's going to disrupt it. Like you said, supposedly they've lost almost $3 billion in market share. And it has nothing to do because Neil Young and who is it?
Joni Mitchell, Graham Nash, a bunch of people.
Joni Mitchell, Indy Irie, a bunch of people have said they're taking their stuff off Spotify, which, again, let's go into the money aspect. Spotify is the leader in streaming music, but they also pay the worst. Apple Music pays more per 1,000 streams. I think Spotify pays like $2 and something cents, where Apple is closer to $5. Amazon's closer to $4 something. Pandora and all the other streaming services. So really, this also has to do with Spotify being the market leader, but also treating the artists the worst. And I think it has to do with a lot of artists. What Spotify's biggest fear and what their investors fear is enough artists are going to be like, they're going to use this Joe Rogan situation kind of as a backdoor fuck you to Spotify. And then it snowballs. Yeah, they probably don't give a shit about Neil Young. But if like, say Beyonce, Jay-Z, Taylor Swift, more and more artists are like, yeah, fuck Spotify. We're going to take our shit off there. That's going to become a problem. And that's why Spotify wants to nip this in the bud. Like I said, there's a lot of corporate machination that falls into this. So, like I said, they made a big bet with Rogan, and by all accounts, it's paying off on the podcast side. But, you know, what they didn't anticipate is you brought on Rogan, who, and Jeremy says, you don't listen to the podcast. I used to listen to it a lot on the fishing boat because it usually was like longer podcasts, 2.5, 3, 4 hours. And, you know, me working in the factory 16 hours a day, I just need something in the background for a long time where I don't have to change, you know, I can just put it on and just listen to it and zone out and hate my life working on a boat. But Rogan has slowly changed. He went from like mostly interviewing comedians, and then he was always a little conspiratorial, right? It was like aliens, UFOs, Bigfoot, you know, let's just go into the weird psychedelic drugs. Let's just be on the weird side.
He likes to stir the pot. He likes to stir the pot. Really?
Yeah, but before it used to be in a fun kind of way where he'd bring on a bunch of his comedian friends and get high and let's just, you know, talk about weird shit. Like, dude, do you think UFOs are real? And I bet you Area 51's got some weird shit. And he used to be that kind of vein, right? And slowly but surely, it seems like he let more political and other kind of grifters on there, people on there who was like, what's this dude selling and what's this dude pumping out? And you know, I think once COVID hit, that was like, I don't know, seemed like the perfect storm of cataclysmic event, conspiratorial theories. And now he's just bringing on people who are just kind of quacks, people who are just giving just straight up misinformation about things and allowing them on his platform, which is the biggest podcast platform. Right. And so the tone of his podcast has changed, particularly in the last year. And particularly, I stopped listening to it because, you know, he's at Alex Jones on there, and Alex Jones on there trying to say, no, I wasn't saying that the kids and, you know, the big thing about the kids who were killed in Newtown shooting, whatever. He's like, it's a misunderstanding. I was like, it's like, nah, dude, I've heard you on your own platform saying how it was a false flag and those kids aren't really dead. And to me, if I'm a parent and you told me my kid wasn't really dead when he got shot, like he got sued and he lost. Basically, you know, so, but Rogan still has him on the podcast. And to me, again, I'm not for any kind of censorship. I wish Spotify would be like, look, we got Rogan, we pay Rogan. He's doing, you know, he's going to say some controversial things. It's up to him. And we're just a platform in it, but they get scared because, like you said, if supposedly $3 billion in market cap got erased because of this new controversy, because investors are getting scared. And trust me, Apple's just sitting back here like, yeah, that's Spotify. You should come over to Apple Music. We don't have, you know, you know, but again, remember, Apple, they're not officially in the podcast business. They have podcasts on there, but it's like, it's just a directory. We're not paying anybody. You put it out there. And that's why Apple has never wanted to get in that game. So like I said, there's certain things to do with the Rogan aspect, but a lot of this comes down to commerce. And I wish ABC or whoever pays Whoopi Goldberg on The View, they should have been like, okay, we're going to let Whoopi explain her views. Unless you say something completely out of bounds, like, you know, I think the Nazis are right and the Jews aren't human beings and they're equate to you know, lesser than human. That's the kind of stuff you should suspend people or, you know, fire people for. Otherwise, it's like, hey, she said something, let her apologize, do whatever.
She realized she misspoke. I mean, almost immediately, you know, she was giving out an apology, you know, to what she said. That's why I don't see that it's a really big deal. Okay, so suspended for 2 weeks, you know, big deal, whatever. But yeah, like you said, I don't think it was serious enough to, you know, for everybody to say, oh, you got to fire her and all this kind of shit. You know, it's not like she'd be hurting for money or anything. I wouldn't feel bad about it if she did get fired. You know, she's going to make it. But, you know, people like to overreact. And now people have a platform to voice those reactions. You know, people are quick hop on board and put their opinion out there, because they can now. And I mean, anybody can get on here and say whatever the hell they want. And a lot of people take advantage of that. And you get a lot of quacks and a lot of people who don't think it through, and they just put up their first gut reaction. And that's the type of stuff that starts to snowball. And then secondly, I'm not going to listen to Joe Rogan, to get fucking, information about COVID in the first place. So whoever gets on there and talking about it, I would take that with a grain of salt, because if you want to know something about the COVID, go to where you're going to find out. Go to the CDC, go to their site, go and see what they're saying about it and all that. I'm not going to listen to a podcast to take information to heart and follow what they're saying, and do what they're saying about preventing getting the COVID. So
I'll say this: Rogan, he doesn't have listeners; he has acolytes. I'll just add this as bookend. The reason why he's so popular, people don't listen. There are people who it seems like are directing their lives based on what Rogan says, and it's typically males aged 13 to 34, and they're just devotees. If Rogan says it, then people claim Rogan, it's the bastion, it's the last bastion of truth that there is out there. Everyone's lying to you, but Rogan, you get both sides and you get the unfiltered. It's like, dude, like I said, people, and from a money standpoint, that'd be great to have hardcore fans in the millions, not just in the thousands, in the millions of hardcore. Sure. But to me, I'm like, are you guys kidding me? Like, this dude was a comedian who used to have people eat donkey balls. On Fear Factor. Yeah, but now he's like the last bastion of truth that we have in society. Yeah. Go ahead, Mike. I know you wanted to jump in.
I mean, I don't know what percentage of people are that devout. I mean, I know that demographic listens to Rogan, but I don't really think, what percentage of the people are actually taking what he's saying to heart? Sometimes you listen to people just because it's funny, it's ridiculous. Like I used to listen to Stern a lot. It's like a long time ago when he was, first on the radio, and the first shock jock coming out there, and you would listen to shit just to see what he was going to say next, but you never took it to heart. You never took anything he said seriously because you knew where he was coming from. But, now all of a sudden, Rogan, like you're saying, last bastion of truth and blah, blah. I mean, that's just sensationalism, taken to the next level, for the fans, his fans. I mean, Jeremy, like I said,
you got anything on this before I finish it up?
I guess my problem with it is it's more the free speech stuff. You didn't have, the guy that's on, maybe the guy's a crackpot. I don't know what Joe Rogan said in response to what the guy was bringing up, but I mean, I still struggle with the whole, well, this guy's obviously wrong. Well, you know what? They put out a vaccine, they took it off the market. They put it back on the market, they take it off the market. You have to quarantine for 14 days. Oh, not 10. Well, 5 days are probably good once you. It's like, dude, the information I'm getting from the CDC hasn't been, straightforward and correct. So if the CDC information changes every month, it seems, about what you need to do and what you should do. And like I asked my doctor the other day, hey, I had the Johnson & Johnson vaccine and I just had COVID. What do I need to do for a booster shot? I mean, am I taking Johnson & Johnson? Is it approved? Do I go to one of the other ones? And her response was, you know what? I don't know. Let me look at the CDC website. The CDC website doesn't give any guidance as to what you should do. It says you should take the booster 2 months after you took your vaccine. I'm like, I took my vaccine fucking year ago or a year and a, I don't know, fucking year and a half. I don't know how long ago now. But sure, way more than 2 months ago. So now what do I do? Do I have to start all over and get a whole new series of shots? She's like, I don't know. I'll ask around. I'll talk to some people. If I find anything out, I'll let you know. But my fucking doctor doesn't know what the fuck I should do. So the people saying this guy, somebody talking about the vaccines or talking about COVID and his information's wrong. Well, the guys that are supposed to know don't seem to have all the information all the time, all the way correct. So how do you know this guy's wrong? And it's his fucking opinion. Who the hell's listening to this guy?
Exactly. That's what I said. Who's listening to that anyway?
Millions.
Letting the crackpots out there.
I mean, I know listening.
What's really going on?
I know people are listening, but are they, heeding what they're saying?
Yeah.
I can go back to the fucking National Enquirer has broken stories about Monica Lewinsky was on the fucking National Enquirer first, and if nobody, they're the ones that took that story and ran with it and made it into a story.
Right.
That's not a fucking reputable news source. Most people would have blown it off if somebody else hadn't followed up on it. So you kind of need those voices out there that are just questioning shit. Yeah, most of them are batshit crazy, but they have a right to be batshit crazy and say what the fuck they want. So I don't understand that part of it. Now the whole racial thing and him, that thing I think is a much bigger story, and probably will end up with him losing his show or being suspended from his show or however you want to handle it. But the COVID part of it, say what the fuck you want. If people want to go research it and go to the CDC and see if this guy talking about whatever medicines is right, great.
That's all I'm saying.
I mean,
that's all I'm saying is
going out and buying that medicine to take it because they heard it on Joe Rogan podcast. And if they deserve to die.
Yeah, that's my point exactly.
Sorry, is that bad? Mike this time, not Vinny. Mike.
Well, this is the entire problem. It goes back to what Sainte said. They're acolytes. They do whatever he says or whoever he brings on. They think it's Godspeed, it's Bible verse, that kind of stuff. What was it? 75 something doctors, 100 doctors in December sent a letter to Spotify saying that what he was disseminating on the air was basically, I don't know if it was misinformation or disinformation, but it was one of those. And they're like, this is going out to millions, maybe tens of millions of people, and they're listening to this guy. And that is one of the things that is causing the divide in this country. Now, I'm not saying it's just the Joe Rogan podcasts, but people don't do research. You're talking about research. These people that listen to his podcast, and not all of them, I'm sure some people listen to it for an entertainment value. They're listening and they're getting this information and they're just going with it. And he does have crackpots, quacks, whatever you want to call them.
And not to interrupt you, I'll let this specific guy, and the reason, like you said, the 100 doctors, because he specifically said that there was no difference between vaccinated and unvaccinated. Like he was citing bullshit statistics saying that it didn't matter whether you're vaccinated or not. And the doctor's like, that's not true. That's the big, I mean, he could say anything about, the different medicines, what you should do, shouldn't do, whether you should get a booster. But the problem they had was he was specifically saying that there was no difference between vaccinated and unvaccinated. And what we're seeing with hospitalizations and deaths, and the doctors were like, that's not true. That was for this specific case. I mean, we can go into other things, but sorry, Mike, I just wanted to put that for this specific case.
No, that's fine. I mean, it just goes back to people not doing any kind of research. I mean, yes, I tend to trust what scientists put out. I have tons of articles though. So like, I'll just look at something that pops up. I'll look at it. And if I disagree, I'll ask a doctor. Like when I go to, I got the HPV shot a few years ago. I was still like young enough. I still am young enough. I think you can get it till 45 now. So I asked my doctor. I'm like, what do you think? And they said, yeah, whatever. It'll help reduce any risk of any kind of, I guess infection. I don't know. I'm not even quite sure. I just trusted my doctor on that. The same thing with the COVID vaccine. I'm trusting my doctor. Like this weekend. I'm sick right now. I thought it might be COVID, and I thought because of my booster and everything, it might have just been a lessened form, and and I just feel it like a normal quote unquote cold. So yeah, I'm trusting people, and I want to get this place back to normal, but this is the new normal, and there's not going to be. I don't think there is any return back to the old normal. So unfortunately, I'm a pessimist in that way. But we've been talking for a little bit. Let's take a quick break and we'll come back and talk about something funny in the C block for a short amount of time. Sweet. You've been listening to Usual Saints. We'll be right back.
This is Michaela Lee, and you are listening to The Usual Saints.
Oh, those long breaks are killing me. What are you smiling about, Jeremy?
Before we get to the Chad moment of the week.
I don't know if I have a bunch this week. I know.
No Chads?
Do we have any deaths?
I don't know. I can't remember any deaths. Welcome back to The Usual Saints. I'm Mike D here with Jeremy, Vinnie, and Sainte. Yeah.
We're like, damn it, nobody died this week. Shit.
Over.
I can't think of anyone dying.
Content
this week?
Well.
Anybody die this week?
No. But no, I mean, I didn't really have a bunch of Chad things this week. There was one thing, but it wasn't that big a deal. Oh, it was Chase. It was Chase Bank. They so did I talk about Chase Bank already?
No.
I don't think so.
Before you get there, I am somewhat surprised that you made it home safely from the tire place. Didn't end up in a canal somewhere.
I told you that would be fine, and I'm fine. And now I have a lifetime road hazard and lifetime alignment and everything like that. So,
wow.
Yeah. Let's see. The Chase Bank. So last month, January, I just happened to log in because Heather and I have separate logins to Chase, even though it's her money that goes into Chase. I have a different bank. I use PNC. And so I happen to log into her account because that's how I pay the Amazon Chase card. And I looked and it said, there's a payment due today. And I'm like, okay. It just happened to be the due date that I logged in. I'm very good. I use Google Tasks. I have a list of every bill that's due. I searched my email. I never delete emails. Couldn't find a statement for that credit card emailed to me. Never got a paper copy. So, and I tried calling. They refused to talk to me because I'm not the account holder. It's Heather. So Heather has to call, talk to some guy. He says, oh, yeah, it was emailed out. And she said, really? Can you tell me what date? And then he looked and eventually he's like, oh, yeah, it wasn't emailed out. You don't have an email address on file. And she's like, really? You know, I know my email address and my husband's email address are both on there. And so this guy's just trying to make excuses to cover his ass. Long story short, we were able to pay the full amount due because I didn't want to pay any interest. It was like $200-$300, whatever. But I had to dip into like the savings account for that particular Chase Bank, which we don't really use. So I paid it off, didn't think anything of it. And then this week I see that there's a $5 monthly fee for the savings account because we went below $300, which is one of the factors. So I didn't even think anything of it. But we've never been charged anything on that. And so we would have paid that bill without using the Chase savings if we would have known about it. We did not know about it. That's my problem. Right. And it's all Chase. And so I called them up. And since I am an account holder on the bank account, not the credit card thing, they talked to me and he's like, oh yeah, I see what it was. It's because, you know, you went below $300 in the savings. So we'll go ahead and refund that $5 right now. But, you know, you have to keep a $300 minimum daily balance. And so I'm fully expecting next month, March, that there's going to be another $5 charge because for the first 3 days of this month, before I got charged the fee, it was not at $300 and now it is. So I'm going to probably have to deal with this again next month and hopefully they give me $5 back. But because of all the problems with the statements, not getting the credit card statements and them not taking any responsibility and them like basically refusing to talk to me, even as an authorized user on the card, we have switched everything from the Chase Freedom card, which we were spending, you know, thousands of dollars on a month, which we would pay off every month. We switched it to like the PNC cash rewards card or other cards. Because fuck Chase. Because if you're not going to fucking get me a straight answer and help me and, you know, even my wife, like if you're not going to, don't make excuses, fucking accept some fault, accept some blame and say, sorry, man, that was our bad. We don't know why you didn't get your email statement. No problem. We won't charge you interest if you can't make it by the 19th of last month. But no, none of that was said. So we just switched it. They're not even going to notice. You know, they don't give a shit. It's one person amongst millions. They're not going to feel anything about me not spending thousands of dollars on their credit card each month. But it's just the point of it. The fact I'm not emailing anyone about this. I'm just going to take care of it. Make sure I don't get charged another $5. I'm just done with Chase. You know, we're not switching banks yet. You know, we're not there yet. If something else happens, we'll see. But yeah, that's me. That's my Chad moment of the week. But it's not really full Chad. No executive emails. No.
When they see the backlash from all the people who listen to this podcast switching from Chase Bank,
that's right.
Trust me, they're going to be begging for your business back. It's going to be Rogan-esque. Where they're like, oh shit,
it is. That's right.
All the usual Saint listeners are going to switch out from Chase Bank. Like we need to get on top of this.
I'm going to check our email as soon as I get off of here because there's going to be some shit on there. I know it.
Yeah.
Do you even know how to log into your email for the show?
Nope.
I can look. I'm sure.
Star reviews.
I'll look, but I'm sure not. I don't get any notifications or anything. No new ones. No.
Anything at all.
We're not live, right?
No, we're not live. I woke up too late. Yeah, no. The last review was April 13th, 2021. We're still at 4.8 out of 5 stars because of that one fucking 2-star review.
4.8. Fucking A.
Fucking.
We just need.
What do you want me to do?
Well, we just need to get more reviews. No, there was one person who left 2 stars but didn't leave a review. So basically just rated it and did not review it. So that sucks. It's just like, let me know what you think sucks. But at the same time, but we wouldn't read it because that's not what we do. But the more 5-star reviews and the more 5-star ratings and reviews, but I think it's more specifically reviews you get, the more Apple like circulates you with that whole API thing that Sainte was talking about. So it just gets you out there in front of more people more, you know. Right now, people probably have to search for us in order to find us. So
that's the way the algorithm kind of works when people are searching for podcasts and stuff. So
yeah. So that's it.
How many people have viewed or listened to the last few podcasts? Just out of curiosity.
Man, you're going off Anchor's numbers there because I don't know that Apple analytics. We seem to we're in double digits each time. I'll say that.
All right, so 11 or 10. So
somebody's listening. That's you know.
Well, Sainte and I thought that maybe it might be us downloading it on our devices. You know,
right.
The automatic download might count as one.
For the usual Saints, I know usually it's around 3 or 4. And I'm like, well, one of them is mine because I automatically download on my phone. And then I think one's Mike. So there's one other person out there listening to our screen. And they probably have it on automatic. And it's just, you know,
it just keeps going. Yeah.
Just keeps going and they don't know. So
we need that person to reach out to us. We need that person to reach out.
You know,
Jeremy, do any of your friends listen? See, y'all have hundreds of friends on Facebook. Spread the word, man. Get it out there.
No,
I'll start posting episodes on Facebook.
Yeah, I got like 53 people on Facebook, man. Mine's not really going to go anywhere. I had like my boss used to listen occasionally, but I don't want her listening anymore. Oh, she's probably listening right now. That would suck.
See, you don't want your boss listening, and you wonder why I don't want to put it on my Facebook. Yeah,
you got your boss on your Facebook?
No. Well, yeah.
Well, no, my boss is not on my Facebook, but she used to listen. You know, that was her husband called in for the interview with the cop. Remember? Yeah.
How many friends do I have?
You got like 700-800 people, probably, Vinnie, at least, maybe more. He's looking right now.
I don't know.
Yeah, I am looking right now.
No idea how many Facebook people I have on there.
I know I got like 53 because my account's fairly new, and I only add people when I actually know them face to face. So.
Oh, really?
Oh, you're not going with the add someone.
I'm like
interacted with them anyway anymore.
I'm like the fucking Raiders. I take anybody.
I used to warn people when they met Mike. By the way, you'll have a friend request before we get home. What? Mike will add you on Facebook before we fucking get home. I remember my wife was like, no, you're joking, right? Fucking before we got back to the house. She's like, holy shit. What? He fucking friend requested me. Told you.
Is that true?
Add everyone.
I don't know. Maybe. I trust Jeremy's memory more than mine.
Oh.
I don't recall. No, but I mean, if I meet people, I used to like add people. Like, what's the problem? But it would be a face-to-face thing. I'd have to meet them face-to-face because I don't want people to not know what to expect when they add me. Because it's mostly jokes and stuff, but some of it's a little political. I don't really post my own shit too often. I just want people to know what to expect.
590. I have 590 friends.
Since Mike didn't have much of a chat moment of the week, so my wife and I went on our first date. Well, probably about 11 years ago. So we're on our first date and we're talking, and we happened to be around our, I think our 15th high school reunion, or no, we were past our 10th high school reunion. And my wife, one of the topics she brings up during dinner that night is, yeah, you remember the high school reunion? I'm like, oh yeah, I went. She's like, yeah, you remember that asshole that was sending emails about being pissed off about this and pissed off about that and just being an asshole to everyone about it. I'm like, yeah, that's my friend Mike. Yeah, that's the asshole.
I think you've told that before, but it's always a great story because I love it.
It is a good story.
I love that I'm the guy. I mean, I went to school with your wife, but I didn't know her. So.
I'm the guy.
No, but Jeremy, did I not have reason to email about the high school reunion, our 10th high school reunion?
Oh yeah, it was horrible, but it's just funny. It was absolutely horrible. There's 9 people showed up? Is that what it was?
9. Holy shit.
Yeah. 9 people, man.
Our 20th reunion was a lot better, but like 9 people showed up. The food was disgusting. It was absolutely.
How many people were in your class?
Even the fucking people that set up the reunion didn't fucking show up to the reunion for our 10th anniversary.
Jesus Christ.
They didn't even fucking show up.
How many people were in your class?
I feel like I was 250 maybe, Jeremy. What was it?
330 or something like that, but
wow.
in there. Yeah, it's not a huge
You know what? 10-year reunion is just, I mean, what, you're 28. Most people are still like, still haven't, most people still haven't done shit, still in that party mode zone. Doing it 10 years, it's not, and some people still think they're too cool. Oh, fuck high school, fuck all those. By the time you get the 20-year reunion and 38, you're like, you're a little more established. You're most likely done with all your partying days. 20 years when you usually do your first reunion. That 10-year reunion is just like, I think is.
I got my 40 year coming up this year.
Hey-o.
20 year, they were getting fucking wasted.
Yeah.
Our 20-year reunion, they were all getting fucking wasted. I'm like, really? You're 38 years old. You're gonna get fucking wasted, then drive home?
Really some of those people, that's the first time being out of the house.
That's true. That's true.
Funny because the sheriff of the county that we went to high school in, he's the sheriff now. He was just a deputy at the time. He was the spokesman for the sheriff's department. But he was there, and he left after like half an hour because I don't think he wanted to be associated with an event where all these people might get a DUI on their way home. So he fucking took off.
Wow,
it was awesome.
Probably a smart move.
Yeah, there might have been a couple cops along. I tried to give people rides home. I'm like, dude, you are fucking wasted. She's like, come back to our house. You want us to drive you there? Because you shouldn't be driving to your husband. No, we're fine. We're gonna have a party. Come back and have it. Me and my wife were like, fuck this. We're out.
Nice.
Yeah, my 20-year reunion was supposed to take place May 2022, May of 2020. So something happened to kind of, because I've seen people like the beginning of the year, people were talking about, hey, who's going to show up? And they try to create like a Facebook message thing for it and all that. And then, something happened.
I was listening to Joe Rogan. You probably could have had it still.
Right. Yeah, probably. Yeah, fuck that.
All right. Let's wrap up this week.
Who's going to watch curling? Who's watching curling in the Olympics? Anybody raise hands?
The Olympics is on? I don't even know. Sorry.
I'm not
watching the Winter Olympics.
I'm not a Winter Olympic guy.
All right. Fuck you all.
Find us at theusualsaints.com. Follow us on The Usual Saints on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Everywhere you get your podcast, leave us a 5-star rating and review, and we'll read your review on the podcast. And we'll be back next week with some shit show that we throw together like this one.
Some shit show. That's beautiful. That's what we should call it, the shit show.
No, we're going to title this one The Real Story of What Happened to Joe Rogan. That's right. Or what did Joe Rogan actually say? That way when people...
The truth. No, this is the truth about COVID episode.
All right. So for Jeremy, Vinnie, and Sainte, I'm Mike D. Thanks for listening to The Usual Saints.
Peace.